government of Kenya and the people of Kenya and the private sector in Kenya is also part of this, this program. So, to answer your question directly, is that we have a predictable policy space backed by the law. Number two, we are ourselves investing in that space so that we are not leaving our investors alone, and we will then be as concerned as they are if there are any policy changes to be made, because in that process, if it is going to affect them, then it is going to affect us. And therefore, we will be a lot more careful in how that space changes. And finally, is to tell the investors that are here, and I know many others that are listening to us elsewhere, that this is a space that you can be sure of. We are not in this for the short term.
We are not in this out of a product of guesswork. We are on this as a plan. And with partners like AfriExim and good friends like Arise, I think we have partners that have a proven track record. And therefore, you should have confidence that we are going forward together.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. You provided me with the transition to ask
I think we have
a question to
that have a proven track record.
What is AfriExim Bank's
you should have confidence
skin in the game as well from an equity perspective, mobilizing equity?
Thank
the
you
government
so much,
has
Mr.
the
President.
president from infrastructure. You
And
provided
policies
stabilization,
like
but
Arise.
investments
we
in
have
convincing other
partners
Kenyan
that have a
banks
proven
also in
track record.
What is
And
an
therefore,
AfriExim
you
Bank
should have confidence
skin in the game as well, but also organize, mobilize. You know, Africa's pension government has the president. We have $4.5 trillion policies from pension funds, investment from wealthy individuals. Thank you.
Track record.
What is an AfriExim Bank?
You should have confidence
In the game.
Thank you very much.
Also organize,
So
mobilize.
you are right.
You know, Africa's pension
We
government
have
has the
so
president.
much
We
money.
have $4.5 trillion policies from pension funds, investment from wealthy individuals.
If you look at the reserves, on the average, $300 to $500 billion in reserves.
Where are they? They are all outside. In the banks that when you
in Arise Integrated Industrial Platform.
And I must thank His Excellency, President Ruto, and his government for Kenya's membership of that fund, because that then enabled us to be able to do some of these things, because it then made it possible for that fund to invest in these parks
Integrated
that we are
Industrial Platform.
talking about. And I must thank His
Beyond
Excellency,
that,
President Ruto, and
we
his
have
government
under the
for,
federal platform an
Kenya's
federal
membership of
investment
that fund.
management.
Because that then
The work of
enabled
that
us
federal investment
to be able
management
to do some of these things.
is to
Because
work with federal
it then
capital and
made
other
it possible
federal
for that
platforms
fund
to create
invest
funds.
in
And one of the
these
things
parks
we
that
are
talking about. And I must thank His
beyond that
Excellency,
is an
President Ruto,
industrialization
and his
fund under the
for,
federal platform. That industrialization
Kenya's
fund, that
membership of
investment
that
will
management.
support
Because that
the
then
investors
enables
that
us
federal investment
to be able
management
to
are in these industrial parks. We will be available and able to work is to with his
Because
excellency federal capital and other
made it possible for that fund
to create investments that Kenyans want to make in the textile plant and other companies, so that we put that under a fund, a fund arrangement where a president will also put his own money through FEDA. That way, we're able to raise significant amount of money to bring here. And also, something we have done to make the projects successful is what we are doing to bring access to market to those who are investing. People produce to sell. They don't produce to consume what they produce. And there is a fantastic opportunity through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So what we're saying is that when somebody invests here, the whole African market becomes their market. But I do not expect them to understand the market. So we do not think so that they will understand it immediately. So that is why we have also launched a trading company called the Africa Trade and Distribution Company. That trading company is owned by Afreximbank, the FCFTA Secretariat, Arise, and Equiten. And what it does is helping to trade some of the products produced in the industrial parks. So when you produce here, your goods can go to Nigeria, go to Senegal, go to Egypt, because that trading company is able to take them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Orama. You talked about the AFCFTA. I'll use the opportunity to ask to Professor Lopez the question about Kenya's positioning to be the gateway for the AFCFTA. What's your opinion on that? Thank you.
Thank you. As someone that has been involved in the technical work for the establishment of the CFTA, and now a member of its advisory council, which, by the way, is meeting today in Cairo, but I gave preference to be with you, Mr. President. There are 5 dimensions of regional integration, and if we just look into trade without the other 4, it's not going to work. So we give a lot of importance to the trade dimension, which is absolutely correct, but without the other 4, it's not going to work. The other 4 are, we need macroeconomic integration, not to the extreme of having one single policy, but you need policy convergence. If you don't have policy convergence, you are going to have problems of foreign exchange, you are going to have problems of interoperability of the banks and all that. Some of the issues that, by the way, Afreximbank has tried to address, like the Pan-African payment system. The second that is also important is the productive integration, which is how you go cross-border to make sure that there is value chains that are going to operate in the real market, continental market. So for that, Kenya needs to be one of the propellers of this cross-border integration. And it's doing it in different ways already. So it can really boost its role in the CFTA precisely because it's already in that trajectory. And you can see it in different ways, on the digital, on the logistics, and different ways. Then you need a third element that is quite important as well,
And one of
which
the
is
things
infrastructure
we are
integration.
talking
It's
about
mostly
beyond
logistics.
that is
Without the logistics, it's going to be very
under
hard.
the-
And here, Arise has understood that for the success of this very large number of industrial parks, need a third element that is logistics becomes central.
And one of the things
And without
we are
logistics, we are not
talking
going
about
to be
beyond
logistics.
that
And then the
is-
fourth one, and here really we have to salute Kenya again, is the free circulation of people. Because if you don't circulate within the continent, it's going to be very hard to do business. So by taking the decision, very courageous decision, to drop the visa requirements for Africans, we have one more element that Kenya is leading. So if you take the 5, in each one of them, Kenya has already put seeds, but it needs to use it much more. And that brings me to my second and last point. You know, for us to be successful in structural transformation, we need 3 ingredients. The first ingredient is ambition. Ambition is defined by making sure that you understand the megatrends, and there are 3 that are particularly important: demographics, the president said it, climate, and technology. If you don't understand them, you will not realize that things are moving extremely fast. And only when you get the real sense of this speed, you then position your strategy to be able to beat the ambition that makes sense. Once you have done that, you need the second ingredient. There will be a lot of things under the sun, but you need focus. And this focus is very difficult because the focus is going to demonstrate the windows of opportunity are very limited and very narrow. So it has to be very calibrated. This is where you decide, for instance, that your value chains are going to be in competition with the world. And therefore, what is it that you are going to put that is differentiating to create the value that you are after? So that's focus, a lot of focus. And once you have done focus, you need the third ingredient, which is alignment. Because, you can decide these are the 3 or 4 areas we are going to invest on. These are the ones that we are going to prioritize. But then it's a complete disarray between Ministry X, Ministry Y, different agencies, each one going its own way, bureaucracy, red tape. Things are not going to move. The only way it works is by making sure that coordination is not just a word that we use lightly, but rather coordination is about every single part of the government and key actors of the private sector are going to be elevating that focus into national priority.
Thank you very much, Professor Lopez. I will ask one last question to Gagan before handing over to Mr. President for his closing presidential reflections so that we can end the panel. Gagan, we heard that special economic zones can help Kenya be the gateway to the AFCFTA. But that's good. But what we want also is for special economic zones to be the gateway for the local community, for farmers, for small enterprises, micro enterprises, to be
now,
their gateway for prosperity as well. What lessons can we learn from your experience in these 13 countries around Africa where ARISE is already? What can we do to make sure that SEZ enable what we call economic growth, but also job creation?
Madhu, very important question. My belief is industrialization cannot happen just by foreign investors. Because when a foreign investor invests,
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video in this series where I get your streams up and running and get everything looking nice and crispy. So in today's video, we're going to be going over how to set up scenes and sources in OBS. I'm going to explain to you guys every single source in OBS and what it is used for. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and let's get this show on the road. But before we do that, guys, let's give a shout out and thank you to our sponsor for today's video, Owned.tv. Owned.tv is the place to go, guys.
Co-investment with them by us. So imagine an investor has a good project. We evaluate it and we find it's good. We are happy to invest alongside with him. Then we also work with our partner banks, like President Orama said.
So let's get this show on the road. But before we do that, guys, let's give a shout out and thank you to our sponsor for today's video, Owned.tv.
Local investors are getting the program. The second part that we clearly see is how do we integrate other industries. So for example, when you see textile industry coming up, you will need somebody to do button manufacturing, you will need somebody to do thread manufacturing, you will need somebody to do other ancillary manufacturing, like packaging material. So here is where we'll attract all the SME sectors to come and establish and provide them long-term offtakes so that they can also establish alongside. I think the third part which is important is you have to ingrain very small practices day to day. I'll give you a simple example. If you go to our Benin industrial zone, we have about 25,000 people that come to work. One choice was we put up a large cafeteria for everybody to come and eat. Instead of doing that, we created a lot of stores for all the mothers to open small cafeterias. So we have over 200 small, mamas who have opened stores and can sell their food products. So our design of the industrial zone is from day one to ensure that we integrate SMEs. Lastly, we'll actually work with the Kenyan government, with the Afro-Exim Bank, to see if we can create a small diaspora fund. The idea being that diaspora can put in their money and all the opportunities that come in the industrial zone, they have a choice to invest in those companies. This way we ensure that the SMEs progress and it's a impact round across and not just few companies. Thanks, Amal.
Very much, Gagan. Mr. President, the last word for you, Excellency. Mr. President, what is your call to action for African governments, development finance institutions, the private sector, but also for the local communities? Call to action so that the special economic zones can become the backbone of Africa's industrial transformation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, my good friend, Mr. Holt. I mean, listening to these good people here, I wish I had them every day to speak to the people of Kenya. Because because what they are saying is music to my ears. It's what I keep, saying. Look at what Professor Orama has said about how do we mobilize domestic resources. Why is Afri-Exim Bank, a local bank? Local in the sense that it is African. It understands us better. They ask us less questions because they understand us. He's just said, we get our own money, we put it in some institutions out there. When you want to borrow that money from them, they tell you you are a risky borrower. This is your money. It is okay for them to keep it, but it's not okay for them to lend it to you. That tells you we must have some local solutions. And it is, Professor, what I have been pushing in our country. We've had not a very good culture of savings. Our National Social Security Fund is among the smallest in our region. Now we have changed that. We are growing our pool of patient money, our pool of savings, our pool of money in our pension funds. Just in one pension fund, the National Social Security Fund, we have doubled in the last 2 years the money in that fund. And we will triple it by 2027. We'll have 1 trillion shillings in that fund. That is how we are going to create a pool of money which we can use for our own investment. Because I am told by economists, because I'm a scientist myself, that investment is a function of savings. If you have not saved nothing, you have nothing to invest. So we must start by savings. And I want to congratulate the people of Kenya. They have finally agreed that savings is a way for us.
And it was what Professor Orama here was telling us.
And it was what Professor Orama here was telling us.
We must build our own capacity
we must
to invest.
Build our own
and our own capacity to invest is built around
and our
how
own
much
capacity
savings.
to invest is built around how much savings we can put together. The call to action on that particular agenda is we need to do more around mobilizing domestic resources. Domestic resources for saving, domestic resources for investment. Look at what we have done
with our housing program. We have mobilized resources, local resources. We didn't borrow from nobody. We have mobilized local resources. We are building 170,000 housing units, 400 markets, another 72,000 hostel units in Kenya. All, we have signed contracts of 600 billion, or let me put it, $4 billion of Kenyan money, which we have mobilized locally. So even as we look for solutions from elsewhere, we must know that there are solutions that are near us here. And I can say that about what we are doing we've mobilized about 300 billion shillings to deploy our health. Again, local money, local solutions. We've rolled that out. And as I listened to my good professor here, Lopez, he said 3 things: ambition, focus, alignment. Our ambition has been very small You know, when you tell Kenyans we are going to build 200,000 houses, they say it is a lie. You know, when we came here last year and said we are going to put together a team that is going to unlock special economic zone in our region. And I remember when I had a meeting with Professor Orama in Mombasa last year, and we did announce $1 billion of investment in special economic zones in our country. $1 billion looks so much money. People are saying, no, this must not be true. Because our ambition is small. So we are used to mediocrity. We are used to smallness. We must stop this smallness of mind and begin to think big and to think serious. Look, today here, less than a year later, we have broken ground for an investment here, as has been said by these good people, beginning here, going to Dongo Kundu. Dongo Kundu will be there in a month and a half, and by February next year, we will be breaking ground in Naivasha. So, ambition, this is what this good Lopez is telling us. Let us raise our ambition. Let us stop thinking small. Let us stop thinking, oh, this is not possible, and this is not possible. We've had this for a long time. These are the usual stories. It is not the usual stories. And let's keep focus. You know, why are we, for example, why are we focused on textiles? Because we have identified some value chains, about 8 value chains in Kenya. We have, under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, we are focusing on 8 value chains. One of them is textiles. Textiles because we have a competitive advantage. We have a good human capital, and we can grow our own cotton. We've just handed over Rivertex. We signed the contract. We will shortly be handing over Rivertex to Arise. And they are bringing into that equation, you know, seedlings, working with farmers, so that we can grow our own cotton. So that even the factory we will be building here in Vipingo will use cotton from Kenya. That is the direction we want to take this. We are focusing on e-mobility. Why? Because therein lies value. We already have, just to mention one sector, 1.5 million almost border people in Kenya. Arise is beginning the production of e-bikes in Kenya right here in this region. Again, so that we can replace those borders which are using fuel with the ones that are using electricity. When I said that we will have motorbikes that will use electricity, you will not need to buy fuel. Many people say, oh no, how is that possible? You know, today we have motorbikes in Kenya that are using electricity. I was very happy last week to see one member of parliament, the member of parliament for Mwala, having gotten his own border people to buy 200 e-motorbikes for his constituency. That is the kind of thinking that we want to push into this space. We are focusing on leather. Why? Because we have the 3rd largest herd of livestock in the continent. Therefore, we have the raw material. We can easily drive that space because we have the raw material, we have what it takes, and with investments like the ones that we are discussing here, we can drive it. Why are we focusing on digital jobs, BPO? It's because we have a tech-savvy young population, educated, speaking good English, people who can drive that space. Again, that is why we are focusing on the BPO space, digital jobs. I'm just speaking to focus, you know, focus. So, so this is really what when I'm listening to these good professionals, they're really speaking the language that I would all of us want to understand, that this is where we must be going. So special economic zones are instruments that we can use in this continent to do three fundamental things. Number one, we are a continent where many of our young people, they die in rickety, boats trying to find jobs all over the place. We can create those jobs here in our continent. Number two, we have huge reserves of energy. I just came from Ethiopia last week. One dam producing 5,400 megawatts. We have many of those that we can replicate in Kenya. That energy pool, clean energy, we can not only profile ourselves as a place where there is abundant energy, but also renewable energy. And we can use it to decarbonize other industries anywhere in the world. We can proudly tell other industries wherever it is. And that is what I am telling the investors I met this morning. I met investors from Linglong, the biggest tire manufacturers globally. They are here in this conference. They want to set up camp in Kenya. A $200 billion company want to find its way into Kenya. We're telling them they cannot only produce out of Kenya because we have the human capital, we have the fiscal and infrastructure capacity, but we can also supply them with clean, green energy. And they cannot only supply for Kenya, they can be manufacturing out of Kenya for global value chain. We're telling the same to Foxconn. We just met again this morning, the largest technology manufacturer of technology phones and company. Again, they can manufacture out of Kenya. So we are saying that there is opportunity in our continent. You not only will help us create jobs, we have some of the best human capital. Number two, we have good energy. We are putting up good infrastructure. We are creating special economic zones. And much more importantly, Africa is going to be the place with the largest single market.
So if you are looking for a good market for your products, you have had Africa Continental Free Trade Area and the infrastructure we are setting up around it to create one single market out of this continent, so that if you manufacture out of Vipingo or Dongokundu or Naivasha, your market is 1.4 billion people in this continent. And therefore, there cannot be a better place to set up your industry, your manufacturing facility. This is the place to do it. And speaking about logistics, you cannot get better logistics than what you have here in Mombasa. You have the port here in Mombasa. You have
looking for premium quality proxies at unbeatable prices? You found it with IP Royal. Access over 34 million ethically sourced IPs with lightning
in our continent.
So, hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick tutorial on OBS. I was talking with one of my friends, and one of the things we like to use OBS for is to increase the level of professionalism when we're doing Zoom meetings, team meetings, or any kind of webinar. It's always nice to have like a lower third identifying who you are, or something like a watermark with your logo. So I wanted to show how you can do that really easily here in OBS. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to studio mode, because you never do anything live.
Exciting panel. Please,
I'm going to go ahead and create a scene over here on the bottom
round of applause. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Another round of applause for the panelists, and thank you for articulating those issues very, very clearly. And after such an engaging moment, let's take our seats kindly. Let's take our seats briefly. After such an engaging moment, there's not much to add, but allow me, Your Excellency, to invite the Governor, Kilifi, Honorable Mngaro, to just say thank you to all that have been in Kilifi this long,
And also maybe to highlight areas in case you came with pounds, euros, and dollars, to ensure that you don't go back with them to your countries. Spend them here. Welcome, sir. After which you'll invite the Cabinet Secretary to invite His
Let's just
Excellency
call it
to
new
officially
scene for today's tutorial.
the session closed. Welcome.
Now, one of the things I like to do with scenes is I don't put the camera directly into the scene. If you notice here on the left, I have a series of scenes that are called base. Those bases already have my scene, my camera framed out the way I want it to be. That makes it very easy later on when I want to add the scene to something else, or if I have multiple scenes referencing the same camera, I can change the framing of the camera on the base, and that will change anywhere else that's going to be using that. So the first thing is I'm going to go ahead and add my camera. So I apologize because it's here off screen, but what I'm selecting is add a scene. And that scene is going to be an existing host camera. That's what I've called this one. Now that you have this...
Development partners, captains of industry, ladies and gentlemen. That's good. Your Excellency, as we draw this transformative forum to a close, allow me to extend my profound gratitude to every delegate, partner, and leader who has contributed to its success. The conversations we have held here have not been routine, but are a motivation to laying a strong foundation for a new wave of investment and partnership across Kenya. Your Excellency, your presence and leadership today are a powerful endorsement of Kenya's commitment to being an investment-ready nation. You have sent a clear, resounding message to investors, both local and international, that Kenya is open, Kenya is prepared, and Kenya is determined to transform opportunities into lasting impact. For us in Kilifi, this forum carries a special significance. Not long ago, we convened our own International Investment Conference, and today, as we witness the launch of the Vipingo Special Economic Zone, we see the alignment between county ambition and national vision. Kilifi is proud to stand at the heart of this story, anchoring the coastal investment corridor and demonstrating what is possible when counties, the national government, the private sector, and development partners move in unison. But let us be clear, this is not the end. The true work begins once these doors close. The MOU signed, the commitments pledged, and the relationships forged here must be translated into tangible projects, sustainable jobs, and shared prosperity for our people. As counties, we are ready to work hand in hand with investors, and in Kilifi, we have built systems to ensure that partnerships are nurtured, fast-tracked, and supported from conception to completion. Distinguished guests, this forum has reaffirmed an essential truth that Kenya does not lack ambition, nor does it lack opportunities. What we need is precisely what we have witnessed here, mainly collaboration, clarity, and commitment. If we sustain this momentum, we will not only accelerate our nation's growth, but also redefine Africa's role in the global investment landscape. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, as we close, let us carry forward the spirit of this forum. Let us live not just inspired, but committed to act, to invest, and to build. Together, we can make Kenya the continent's premier destination for investment, and Kilifi stands ready to play its part. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, let me take also this opportunity to, I know we are concerned of time. I want to ask the political leaders that will have an opportunity after here, as the day with the president for us is long. We'll speak somewhere else. But allow me, Your Excellency, for me to acknowledge all the leaders who are present. I'll start with my colleague from Mombasa, Governor Abdul Samad Nasir. We'll have an opportunity later, Governor. You know where we are going is where we belong most, all of us here. So we'll have an opportunity to speak there. Gertrude Mbeyu, the County Member of Parliament for Kilifi, the Honorable Katana Paul, the Member of Parliament for Kaloleni, the Honorable
Amina Munyazi, the member for Malindi, the Honorable Kenga Mupe, the MP for Rabai, the MP, the Honorable Owen Baya, who is also the Deputy Part Leader of the majority in the National Assembly and the MP for Kilifi North, the Honorable Mishimboko, and all the members from Kilifi County. Can you just raise your hands, the team from Kilifi County? Asanteni sana and karibuni sana Kilifi. And before you leave, please you take your time, spend some, like the person invited me here earlier said, we have a lot to do. And maybe you'll get a new idea for a new investment. So just hang around for a few days and spend a bit of money and enjoy the Kilifi hospitality. Let me take this opportunity, Your Excellency, to now invite the Minister for Industrialization, the Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, to speak and invite you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Governor Mungaro. Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander-in-Chief, President of the Afri-Exim Bank, all invited guests, my colleague, Cabinet Secretaries, and all leaders here present. Good afternoon. Allow me to take this opportunity first to thank the President for a well-dedicated time to articulate our industrial agenda. No country in the world ever developed by accident. Every country that ever developed had to think through, and some of the steps you have said here are part of that. I want to echo the words of one of the panelists here who also said that the structure of colonization made the colonies the source for raw materials. So deliberate was that structure that 60, 100 years later, we have remained loyal to that. So for us to break that, there must be dedicated thinking, both at the continent level, at the country level, and a conversation among leaders on how we can align. Your Excellency, I want to remind you of an experience we had with one of our industrialists in a place called Nyahururu. He fabricated a vehicle, innovated, and because it would go on the road, he went to register it with our KRA. But the first document he was asked is the import bill, because it was not anticipated that a vehicle would be made in Kenya. So the structure that made or reduced Africa to be just a producer of raw tea, raw coffee, sisal, and other places where it would be developed remains intact. And therefore, I want to salute you for both being a champion and also allowing Kenya to be responsive to investor needs. All the investors, including Afri-Exim, thank you for believing in Africa. And I want to say, on the agenda of industrialization in Africa, we will rely more on Africa solutions. If Africa is to rise, we need more of the Professor Oramas, who believe in the continent and who know that for us to stop the migration of our young people across the Mediterranean, something must be done here. Lastly, I want to congratulate our governors, Mungaro and Mombasa Sheriff, for being responsive to the investors we have sent here, including yourself, processing all the necessary documentation, compliance, and all that is required for the investors to be here. And I want to echo those who have spoken before me that now, more than any other time, it is time for industry. It's time for us to work with the industry, the people, investors, the financial players, so that we can be able to move forward. With those few comments, I want to end it there, and once again to salute everybody. And I think, going by what the President has already said here, we have agreed there is nothing more to add. May God bless you all.
Another round of applause for CS. And with that, we will end with the national anthem. But before that, Your Excellency.